Welcome back, everybody. This is our last installment in our home buying series. So today I'm going to go over kind of a recap of what we talked about very briefly, and then also talk about what it takes to really make it to closing and what is closing. So by this point, we have gone through all other 5 steps, which consisted of finding a lender. You've chosen an agent, you've done the home search and found your dream home. You wrote the offer, went through negotiations, and conducted any inspections that you wanted to have done. Negotiated repairs for those inspections. And now we're at the point of just making it to the finish line. So closing. Closing is essentially an hour to 2-hour event. You go to an attorney's office, typically. With COVID, things have changed a little bit. But you'll sit down with an attorney. They will go over all paperwork affiliated with purchasing this home. And sometimes the seller will be in the room as well. So you actually get to meet the seller on occasion. It just depends on the attorney. And essentially you have both sides conveying the property from one person to the next for closing. So you sit down in their office and do all the signing you can imagine you would ever do in a lifetime. This is really where the title and the deed for the property get transferred over to you. So the seller is saying, I give up possession because I got paid, and here is my possession I'm giving to you for this money. This is really, you want to make sure by this point your lender should have all documents needed from you, definitely. You want to have done a final walkthrough of the home to make sure it's in the condition you expected. After people move out furniture, sometimes things get found that weren't seen prior to them having everything moved out. So make sure the home is still in tip-top shape, or the shape that you expect it to be in whenever you buy it. Because this is really your last chance to do anything about it. Once you sign those documents, it is yours. To always encourage people, if there was a huge sectional couch, make sure you're looking under that couch where it was to make sure the floor is in decent shape, and just look for things that you weren't able to see up to this point. Up until this point, you'll kind of be awaiting final numbers. So you'll typically receive those a couple days prior to the closing date. And those final numbers will be from your lender informing you of what exactly you need to bring to the closing table. This will consist of down payment and closing costs typically, unless you've had the seller cover those closing costs. But either way, you should have a final number that's expected of you this day, and the attorney will specify how they want that amount paid. So at closing, you're going to really do 2 main things. You're going to bring that final number and that money to the closing table for the seller to get. Really, your lender will be in charge of making sure that number is correct, and you'll be signing all legal documents to transfer ownership to you from the seller. You also have some government documents depending on the type of loan. If you're FHA or USDA, you'll typically have a few more documents to sign from those government agencies. And then you'll also have the actual mortgage and deed that you sign as well. So these will be put into your name. There's something called the mortgage note. Essentially, this is the promise to the lender that you will be repaying the mortgage. Simply put, if you don't pay, you don't stay in the home. That's how a lot of attorneys break it down. It's as simple as that. It's a promise, that you are getting this money from the lender with the anticipation of repaying upon the agreed upon terms that you had whenever you first talked with that lender. So closing costs, your down payment will be taken care of. Just make sure as you're going through your documents, you'll have a pretty thick packet from the attorney, especially on the buying side. Make sure you understand everything. Not necessarily read every document. The attorney should be able to give you a good brief synopsis of what each document means that you're signing, though. And if you got questions, don't be intimidated to ask. This is your money, your investment, and going to be your home. So I encourage people, this is the worst time to be intimidated and asking any questions. Just ask away. You'll also have what they call a closing disclosure. So this is sent out by your lender, hopefully a few days prior to closing, to give you a really good idea of what is owed the day of closing. So that'll really have your final numbers on that closing disclosure, or a CD is what a lot of people call it. And then other than that, you'll go through the paperwork, sign everything, make sure you've had a chance to understand and that you're completely okay with everything you're signing. And then at the end of all that paperwork, you will receive your keys. So the home becomes yours. At that point, it is yours. So feel free to go ahead and start moving in unless there was some type of agreed upon different clause in the contract. But I'd say 95% of the time you're going to get those keys the day of closing, and you can be expected to be able to move in. So congratulations. I appreciate y'all keeping up with these. Feel free to comment, share, and make sure you watch all the previous videos if you've missed any too. Alrighty, thank y'all, and don't hesitate to reach out with any questions for this process.